Welcome to the DMF. I am your host, Justin Yance, and today my guest is Amy Manning. She is a manager and an entrepreneur, and this is part one. Enjoy. Okay, I have a guest with me today. I have Amy Manning. She is an entrepreneur and a manager. How are you doing, Amy?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So my first question is, you grew up in Savannah, Georgia. Is that correct?
That's right.
All right, cool. So how is that?
It's very southern. It's as
Yeah.
Savannah has a long history of um I don't even know how you say it. It's a mystique. There's very spiritual, and there's
Yeah.
a lot of ghost hunters that come here. There's a lot of heat around this city. It's very old, and it was just really fun to grow up here. I love it. And I say here because I'm back here right now.
Oh,
And it's
oh,
beautiful.
cool. So you're in the Eastern time zone right now.
I
Cool.
am.
All
Yeah.
right, I love it. Yeah, I've been to Savannah. It's so beautiful. It has that old, it has an older look, but it's very classic and timeless.
Yes, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Very charming.
Were you intrigued by show business as a kid?
I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I think I was always like show E. I just wanted to be
Yeah.
in the front of the class and talking to everybody or performing
Mhm.
something or talking about something. I kind of was a little bit of a showboat, and
Mm.
I just wanted to be leading something or doing something or telling a
Yeah.
story. But I don't think I knew at that point in time that this was the direction that I was going to go. I really don't, because I kind of got here on
Mm.
accident, to be honest.
Interesting. Do you want to elaborate a little on that? Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I
yeah,
know
well,
that's coming up.
I went to school for sports management, sports marketing,
Yeah.
and I was an athlete. No, so all my classes were mostly men. It was just all men and me primarily. I think
Mm.
there might have been one class where there was, another girl, and they were all athletes. And I was teaching them in sports science, so I knew all of them. I was teaching them. I guess back then we called it PE, but teaching them like aerobic. It was called aerobics, which we don't use that word anymore either. Showing my age, but
It's
so I was,
funny that is kind of like been
yeah,
phased out. We don't really say
totally,
aerobics
yeah.
anymore,
So it was like
even
physical,
though that's what
yeah,
cardio is. Yeah,
the
we call it cardio now.
exactly cardio. So I was teaching them cardio, but we were, I knew them all, but we all graduated. I went through, and I thought I wanted to be a sports agent. That's what I wanted to be. I just knew it
Really?
from day one. I love representing people. I love working with people. I love sports and fitness. I wanted to be a sports agent. So I became that. That's what I became. And then I
So you want
realized,
to be Arliss and Jerry Maguire.
yeah, yeah. And I knew this is a really sad thing. I knew nothing about professional sports, nothing. I was horrible. I was the
Really?
world's worst agent in the world in the history of time. And I thought, why did I do this? This is horrible. I'm like really bad. And I left, and then somehow one thing led to another, and I ended up managing some of the Nike athletes that I was repping, and they were
Mm.
saying, well, you do this for me so well. Would you handle this for me? Would you do this for me? Would you handle this for me? And then it became managing slowly, slowly, slowly. And then I'm in LA. So of course,
Yeah.
there were actors, and I think it started with Oprah's trainer, Bob Green. We were working on a product together. And so that was like kind of the first foray, like crossing over into
Mm.
from sports to entertainment. So yeah, that's
Because
how I
you
got
also
it.
did personal training as well.
I did. I still do that. I've never
Still
lost
do that.
I've never lost my training certificate. I just love it. I
Yeah.
don't do it very often, but like I have one
Yeah.
client
No.
right now who's just, gained some weight, went through some personal trials, and
Yeah.
he's coming back, And he said, I really would like to lose 20 pounds before I come back. And I said, all right, well, let's do that. So it kind of came back into play. I was like, okay, well, let's do this and this and this and this. We'll put this together and da, 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 da. But I don't do it very often, but I do enjoy it. I like it.
Do you feel personal training prepared you for managing in some ways?
I think it's just I think it's the other way around. I think my personality lends itself to both. I'm a nurturer. I like to manage and care for people. So I'm a Cancer. I'm just kind of naturally that way, I think. And so I think whether it's training somebody or managing their career, it's sort of the same way, you know, you come at it like you need something, I'm going to help you get there. Like, if that makes sense. I'm not really sure. But
That makes sense. Now, so were you doing personal training in LA? How did you get to LA?
So the first job I had was I was working for, after I was really horrible at being an agent, I was working for a company called the Step Company way back in the day in Atlanta, and developed, again, I'm showing my age, but they developed the first step product. Remember Step Aerobics way back when? And so that was us. That was the company that I worked for. And I traveled all over the world, like working with these Nike, you know, athletes that we had a licensing agreement with Nike and Reebok. And we were developing IP, like we were developing programs for the steps so that we could own them. So we hired these athletes, we did agreements with Nike and traveled all over and did these big trade events and built programming around the Step aerobics platform. And we made such a huge name for ourselves that a company about the same time was coming out with a product for heart rate monitor technology out of Finland by the name of Polar, and it was Polar Electro Inc. And they came to me and said, hey, could you do the same thing for us that you did for Step? And I said, yeah, but I want to live in California. So they moved me to California, and that's how I got there. I was dying to go there. I knew I was going to go, but it was just, how do I get there?
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you've been there ever since?
Yeah. Right now I'm actually on the East Coast, in Savannah. I've been here for a minute, but yeah, I've been in LA most of my life.
So how did you get into managing actors?
I started a marketing company, and that's when I was working with different advertisers and promoting different things. And I had all these Nike contacts, and so I was, you know, trying to work with a lot of those athletes. And that's when I mentioned I started working with Bob Green. He had a product that he was promoting, a weight that had, like, I can't remember how you do it, but you could add, it was the first dumbbell or barbell. What do you call it? That you could add the different size weights on.
Where they had the little click and yeah,
or like adjustable. It's like the very first one of those. And so I was working with him, and then it was slowly but surely I just started working with these different athletes, and they were asking me to manage PR or shoot, or, you know, and I kind of slowly moved that way. It would be eventually, like, fast forward, I was working on a product with Kathy Hilton for Home Shopping Network, and I was putting it all together. It was a beauty line, and her team came in and had this meeting, and they said, we'd like you to just come on full time. And I said, well, I can't. I have all these other things I'm doing. I can't do that. And they said, yeah, we'd really like you to do that. We want you to do that. And it was like a really lovely pressure. It wasn't a harsh pressure. It was like, we really like you. We want you to do this. And it was fun. And I really liked working with her, and we had become friends. And so I really just started managing her full time. And that was like my first foray into really making the big jump. And I was managing her product and working with her full time. And I think so that was really it, I guess. That was a big the official jump. I actually had to think backwards. I couldn't remember.
So it's interesting. You have a lot of business experience. I like that. Who
Yeah.
are the business people that you look up to?
Uh, Rick Hilton, Mr. Hilton.
Mm,
I struggle with calling him Rick or Mr. Hilton because in public I like to call him Mr. Hilton out of respect.
mm,
But I love him so much. Like I call, he's Rick to me, but he's taught me so much over the
mm.
years. I learned so much from him originally managing Kathy. And then eventually when he asked me to manage Paris and run her business, we worked really closely together because he, was overseeing her business in the early days a lot more than, she wasn't as big as she is now. Now she runs, she's
Yeah,
stepped up completely.
because you took in there 2007, right? You started managing Paris.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And uh Rick asked me to take that over, and he knew I would have to walk away from Kathy for a while, but
Yeah.
he wanted someone that he trusted, and so that was fun. I loved it. It was great.
Now, after that, yeah, it was 2004. That's when Paris starts to kind of become a thing.
Yeah.
And then 2007. So, had what was like what was kind of your mission statement to when you worked with Paris?
We were building a global brand. Uh for me, when I came in, I think I was cleaning it up a little bit. Um
Yeah.
not that it wasn't clean. It was just sort of, there was a different brand representation in Japan. There was a different brand representation in
Mm,
Australia. All over the world, it had just been like a licensing agreement and they were just letting it go. And I came in and said, we need to own the brand. We need to really own it tighter and not just, throw it out for a licensing agreement, make money, put a minimum guarantee against it. And then whether they fail or do well, we don't care. We need to be business partners. And so when we did that and we looked at the business a little bit differently, then we really got control of where we were going. And then we made better decisions. I don't know if it's better decisions, but we made very strategic
yeah.
decisions about where Paris wanted to go and where she really wanted to be. I think there were some licenses that she had that she really didn't care about. And there were some directions that the brand was taking that she really, wasn't invested in. And she decided that she wanted to go in directions that she was very passionate about, in areas where she really wanted to be involved in, and that she could have more control and that she could step up and want to be on board with those people, want to go do the appearances and fulfill those parts of the agreements. And,
Mm,
as opposed to just saying, oh, like, I don't want to do that, or I don't want to go.
yeah.
I'm not jazzed about that. And it showed, in some of those things. So from that point, she really made a turn and really stepped up and became the Paris that I always knew that she was. She's a brilliant
Yeah.
mind. She's very underestimated sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't think she is now. But she
Yeah.
was then. And she just had to step up and take control of her brand. And I think I was just a conduit, to that. I think a lot of it was her.
Yeah. Looking at that, as I watched the Anna Nicole Smith documentary, which you were involved in. With her, I don't see that kind of strategic thinking when you see these, interviews where with Paris, even though sometimes she's playing dumb for the cameras, it does feel like that was like a thing she was doing. Whereas like underneath, I'm like, there's a brain under there somewhere. She's playing. Whereas with Anna, I don't know if she really was in control of like what she was doing. She seemed to get really sucked into the drugs. I don't feel like Paris got sucked into drugs. I think she just got sucked into partying and the lifestyle, but not so much where she wasn't in control, even though she had bits and pieces of it. Was that kind of the things that you kind of like sharpen the edges with?
Yeah. I mean, Harris was always in control, always.
Mm,
There was never a time that she was out of control.
mm.
I think she, yes, like you said, she partied a little bit.
Yeah.
She grew up in a different lifestyle than you and I did. I mean, she grew up differently, and it's
Yeah.
hard to put any kind of a lens on somebody when you don't really understand them, and you can't walk in their, in their shoes. And I think I think she did a fabulous job of
Mm,
of dealing with the family that she grew up with, and then knowing all the other things that went on that we didn't even understand. And then, managing this brand that just seemed to grow, like
yeah.
almost in spite of itself. But not that she wasn't orchestrating it, because she was, but it's phenomenal. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
phenomenal, the way that people reacted to her, and the overwhelming notoriety that she has still
Mm,
in life, just day to day, to get from here to here is a huge undertaking. And there were times where she was upset about not being able to see people in a different way, or not being able to date in a different way, things like
mm.
that, just normal things that girls or young women think about and have problems with. But she couldn't be that. She has to be this, she has to be bigger than life. And so
Yeah.
but the comparison to Anna Nicole is very different. There's a sadness,
Yeah.
Anna Nicole, that I discovered. We did research on this for 3 years before, we ever actively started filming anything. And I mean, I was knee deep in it, and it's heartbreaking. Her
Yeah.
story is heartbreaking. There's definitely a woman there that you don't know, that yes, she had some strategy. Yes, she knew what she was going for, and she did achieve a lot. She did some wonderful things, and she is smart, in her own way. But
Yeah.
she did some beautiful things, and she really went after her dreams. She followed them. Now, however she got there, whether you like it or not, or you approve or you don't approve, she got there, and that was her dream, and that was her course, and she did it. She was polluted by something that a lot of people go through, that are in the celebrity spotlight, which is hard to deal with. It's just being
Yeah.
under scrutiny, constant scrutiny, being in that hot spotlight. You want it and you crave it, but the irony is that it's so hot under that spotlight, and you'll never
Yeah.
live up. I mean, you just never will. And
Yeah.
you know,
Well, it seemed like she was looking for validation, from everyone else instead
always.
of herself. And it's like,
So yeah.
that is a road that will lead you to never
Yeah.
being happy, because you're never
Right.
going to make everybody happy.
You can't. Yeah. You
Yeah.
can't.
Now we're talking about that documentary. I found it interesting because she talks about her, they talk about her mother at the beginning, and they kind of paint her as abusive. And then toward the end, she is kind of like, she fabricated some of this thing. Like,
Yeah.
that was the only thing I was kind of like confused with in the documentary, that it was like they were telling this one story, and then all of a sudden at the end, we're like, oh no, she was in on it too. She just didn't speak up or say anything about it. What was?
So she's passed now.
Yeah.
So we can't, really find out. But I think what we discovered was that we that almost like what you just said a minute ago, that she was trying to please everyone else, or what she thought to be. She was a slave to the media platform, as big as you
Yeah.
can be, of wanting to please everyone else. And so I think in our victim culture, she might have thought that, people want to see her fail, or do drugs, or have a problem, or have a messy
Yeah.
situation at home, have some abuse. I think we didn't want to say either way. And here's
Mm.
the other thing. We wanted to try, and I'm trying to do that now, as I'm talking. I'm thinking about her daughter. there were decisions that were made for her daughter in this film, things we left
Yeah.
out, things we could have said.
Yeah,
And
she's not shown on there. Yeah, at all.
I I feel like we still have a responsibility, even though we're telling a story and we, want to put in all the salacious details and things of that nature. But there is a daughter that is around, that's her mother, and I want to be respectful of that.
Yeah.
I think some of those things might have been fabricated, but there might have also been pain that she was feeling from a certain situation.
Yeah.
Maybe she painted in
Yeah.
a more salacious way. We don't know. We'll never know. But
Yeah.
was there pain there? We know that for sure. But from everything that I know about her mother, I think she was a fabulous woman and a very astute woman, an investigator for years, and very smart, I don't personally, I don't think it's true that she was
Yeah.
abused.
No, I don't think so either, because you have her speaking and
Yeah.
I can hear her tone in her voice. There's nothing that gives me any inclination that it really sounds like, was when we meet the father, that she was protecting her from the father and what he was, because you have the brother on there, saying, how, vicious he was and this dark side that he had. And then, we kind of leave the father. Allegedly, he, I tried to sexually assault her. I mean, so it's growing up with that. I mean, having to deal with the fact that, this is somebody that's supposed to love you and he sees you as some sex thing, is just, I don't think a lot of us can understand what that is like to go through. And then, like you said, satisfying the media's appetite of going out there and being like, oh, I got to give them this, I got to give them that. We see the trim spa stuff that she was doing, which, it's diet pills.
Right.
And, it made me think about, Ozempic and what's going on with that. Like, I feel like we're going to have the same problem there, because it's like, you're not teaching people habits. You're teaching them to just,
we want a one hit wonder. We want to fix. We just want to fix. Yeah.
Because I know some people that they think they're going to be on Ozempic forever. And it's like, that's not how this works. You can't just stay on this stuff forever. It's eventually you've got to learn to control your cravings, your diet. I mean, it's suppressing your appetite, but that can't be your only reason for, losing weight, because then as soon as you're off that, you say a medical reason or something, then we have to get you off that. You're going to go straight to that, and you're going to go straight back to the habits that led you to where it is. So I don't know. That was something that just popped right into my head as I was watching. It's like,
right.
Oh, no.
And then is it a fix at all? If you're going to go on it and then you have to go off and you've got to learn the habits anyway. Is it really help? I don't know. It's a question.
Yeah, it's the same thing with steroids. You see the people that, stop taking them and they just
blow up.
It's like they atrophy to nothing. And it's like,
yeah.
Or they not even done anything.
Like they put on weight. I've seen that, where people put on weight. Yeah.
It's like they look worse than when they didn't do steroids. It's kind of scary. It's like a deal with the devil.
Yeah.
Getting back to Paris, though, helped her. What were some of the rebranding things that she wanted to do? I'm just curious.
I'm trying to remember when we first started. We were just going into the shoes and clothing. We had a couple of deals, but the brands were, I think what was happening was it was really just not as much. There wasn't a lot of control on it. They were like deals that were signed, meeting a minimum guarantee, and just sort of letting them go, because Paris had her foot in so many things. I mean, she was doing so much. Yeah. So it's not anything that she was not doing right. It was just that
simplifing it and getting it to everybody's on this board
really well, that you're really passionate about, or you can do 27 things and just, they'll be all right and they'll make money. So the fragrance was and is still, well, I can't speak for her now. But the fragrance is the biggest money maker. She's or was at the time, the largest selling fragrance brand in the world. I don't know if that's true anymore, but she would come out with a new fragrance. I mean, we were working with Parlux, and we would have a new fragrance probably, I mean, at least once a year, maybe more than that. I can't remember. But we were doing, we're doing big campaigns and then going to, maybe it was twice a year. I can't remember the timeline, but it seemed like it was like every time you turn around, there's another shoot, another fragrance, another. And she's so creative that every one had a different look and a different image and a different theme. And, for mermaids or, whatever it was, it was just all of her vision. She's an artist. She's very creative. She, everything came from her. She was the creative behind it. And then Parlux would just put it into action. But so I think it was just really getting tighter on the things that we spent our time on and where we did these deals, and really partnering with them. Like I would have meetings with them and say, okay, here's what we want to do. And, really spend the time with Paris and say, what do you want to do? How do you want it to look? And then, so she was more involved. I think once she was more involved, it just, became easy to figure out which direction to go, which direction to cut. And it seemed like it was a lot more on the, fashion fragrance. And then we started moving into pets as well.
Yeah. So, it's a real lesson in rebranding. Her name is different now than where it was in 2004. It's got the reality show. I think she did a book, like you said. So like it was really simplified. Going back to Anna Nicole Smith, what was probably the most eye-opening thing to you from doing research with that?
The death of Daniel was heartbreaking. There were so many ins and outs, things that don't even appear in the documentary that we discovered that were still mysterious. There's a lot of mystery around that. And there were some things that happened there in the Bahamas, with their legal system, the Bahamian inquest. There's a lot of mystery around that. Some things were mishandled. Some people were fired. Some people died unexpectedly. There are a lot of things that we could have done hours on the story, but we had to really, keep it to a consumable format that was within the reins. But that was the biggest thing for me. It was gut wrenching, to see the joy, all the struggles that she had gone through, and then the joy of bringing Danny Lynn into the world, and then juxtaposed to that very next day, having her son not wake up. It just, the dichotomy, it kills you. I found it hard to do the research on it. And the more we uncovered and the more we looked at, the more people that we talked to, my heart was just breaking for her.
Did you guys talk to her daughter, who was still with us, or did you guys just make a decision to keep her completely out of it?
No, we the original plan on our end as a producing team was to have them on board. And then he made a decision not to do it. I think he wanted to do his own deal, another project, which I'm not privy to. So that's all I know, is that it was during the pandemic. So there was a lot of silo people working together and working on Zoom and taking off and interviewing people in different locations. But I really wish he would have been. I think it would have been great, but we, unfortunately did not have that involvement.
No, but it was really interesting. I found it to be fascinating because
Thank you.
I did not know all this stuff. And I knew of Anna Nicole Smith, but I didn't know of the upbringing, the father. I
Yeah.
mean, I knew a little bit about Howard. She had the Anna Nicole show. That was, I like how you guys you showed the Osbournes. It's like that was kind of, that
Yeah.
was the boom of at least cable really starting to like look at reality TV shows and going, oh, look, this works. I mean, that I'm sure that led to, the Kardashians and all the other things, which is what he was looking for. They were looking for their Osbournes. They found the Kardashians, and
Yeah.
they found
Yeah.
something even bigger than pretty much the Osbournes, something that they've been able to still use to this day. I mean, it's still a brand that, goes. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Okay, that about does it for this episode. I want to thank Amy Manning for her time. I hope you enjoyed it. Please stay tuned for part 2. And as always, you can find me at Justin Yance. Please like, share, and subscribe, and consider checking out the YouTube channel. And I will see you next time on the DMF.